Alright guys, back again. Another demo that you guys requested. On the last one I asked you guys to tell me what you guys wanted me to make next. And I got several requests for fried chicken and mashed potatoes. However, I couldn't just do fried chicken and mashed potatoes. You know me, gotta give you a vegetable. So I decided to show you guys how to do zucchini, or I'm sorry, squash, not zucchini. Zucchini is the green one. I'm doing squash, it's the yellow one. But I'm going to show you guys different ways of altering the recipes. So we're going to go ahead and get started. But before I start, I was trying to remember if I told you guys the joke about the butter. But never mind, I don't want it to spread. Yeah, ha ha ha. I know you're laughing, either that or roll your eyes. Either way, I take it. So what I did was, for the chicken, in here I have a piece of white meat, I have a chicken breast, and then I have a piece of dark meat, of course, is a leg. I like to soak it in buttermilk, but because I didn't have buttermilk, the easiest way to do it is for every about 3 cups of milk, you do 1 tablespoon of vinegar. It can be regular vinegar, or it can be apple cider vinegar. You need something with citrus. So let's say that you don't have vinegar and you're like, Ms. G, but I don't have any vinegar. Weirdly enough, something else you can use is lemon juice or a little orange juice too, but you'll have to use more of that. So if you're using lemon juice, or if you're using orange juice, then you're going to want to do 2 to 3 tablespoons for every 2 cups of milk. So what that does is it creates the buttermilk that you want your chicken to soak in. You're going to add salt and whatever seasonings that you would like to add. So if you would like to be specific to what I do, I try to, as I've always told you guys, I keep it really simple with my main 4, which are you okay? Which are onion powder, garlic powder, ground pepper. Again, I have my sea salt. And with chicken, I like to add a little bit of chili powder. Now, if you like spice, then you can go from chili powder to cayenne pepper. But y'all know that I'm not a huge fan of spice, so I like the flavor of the chili powder. So I put all of those in the bowl, and I've had this chicken soaking for about 15 minutes in the refrigerator. You can do it the night before, that's perfectly fine, but you don't want to do it too many days before, because of course this is buttermilk, so you don't want that to spoil, just in case it's close to the expiration date. The same seasonings that I put into my mixture for my brine is the same exact ones that are in my flour. This is about 2.5 cups of flour. If you're doing more chicken, of course you're going to want to add more, or if you're doing like 1 piece, then you don't need as much. But again, you want to make sure when you're frying this chicken that you season it every step of the way. So behind me, I have my oil that was preheating, and now it's really hot. I had it on high to get it up to temp, and now I've turned the heat down to medium. So what I'm going to do, of course, is put on my gloves, because I told you guys this is my cheat when I do my chicken at home, because I do not like to get the stuff caked onto my hands. And yes, you can use tongs, but I still like using my hands for this part. It just tends to spread out a little easier to me. So what I'm going to do is just take my chicken from its resting place and go ahead and put it in this flour. Now, if you don't have flour, like I told you guys before when we were doing the pork chop, you can actually use cornstarch. Or if you have self-rising flour, the way that KFC and Popeyes gets that really crunchy chicken coating is that they use self-rising flour. It is the agents in there that help the flour to rise that also give the chicken that awesome flaky coating crust. So all I'm doing right now is coating the chicken, and now I'm going to pick this up. Again, you want to make sure that you have this, and I'm going to take it to my heat. I know the oil is hot, guys, but do not drop it and run, because what's going to happen is you're actually going to end up spilling it, and it's going to splatter on you, and that's how you end up with 3rd-degree burns. So I know you're going to be afraid to do this, But the slower that you put the chicken in, and as you put it down, put it away from you, the less oil is going to spill. So what I'm going to do is take it, and again, placing it down away from me. And with the other one, again, getting all of that coating off, and going ahead, popping it in. All right, now what we're gonna do is come back over, because that is going to take about 8 minutes, depending on how hot your oil is, but you don't want it too hot, because if your oil is too hot, what's gonna happen is that you're gonna get this beautiful coating on the outside, and you're gonna be like, oh, the chicken is cooked. And you're gonna take a bite of it, and it's still gonna be bleeding on the inside. But if you feel like your oil is too hot, just go ahead and let it get a crust and put it in a 350 to 375 degree oven for about 5 to 10 minutes, because what that's going to do is finish cooking the inside, and it's going to allow you to keep that crust on the outside that you want. So I'm going to throw this away. My camera doesn't necessarily have to follow me for this part. All right, so now while our chicken is frying, I'm going to go ahead and turn this. You don't have to follow me over here. I'm just going to turn it over. And see, exactly what I was talking about was that the oil was a little too hot. So that's perfectly fine. All I'm going to do is get a glass pan. You don't have to follow me through this part. I'm going to get a glass pan, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it in the oven. It's fine either way. It's still fried chicken. It's still going to be really good. But the last thing that you would want is to get this pretty brown crust, and number one, for it to burn, which would be horrible. So all we want to do is go ahead and put it in this 350 oven while I get everything else ready. By the time I finish, it'll be done. So our second dish of today is going to be mashed potatoes. So I have about 3 big potatoes in here. I cooked them before the video started, of course, because I wanted this to be a little bit shorter in time. So what I have here is about 2 tablespoons of butter. If you are making butter, or if you're cooking for somebody who is trying to watch how much salt intake they have, then you can use unsalted butter so that you can make sure that there's not too much salt in it. And then I have milk as well. It's about a half a cup of milk. You can substitute regular milk for, you can use sour cream. I know some people that make mashed potatoes with cream cheese. I've seen it also done with no milk at all, depending on the person's ability to handle lactose. It just depends. I haven't tried it with almond milk as a substitution, so I can't speak to that, but I'm just going to do what I have here. So what I usually use to mash, if you have a potato masher, then that's great. If not, if you have a whisk, it does do a nice job. So while the potatoes are still hot, and mine are still fairly warm, all I'm going to do is add my butter and add a little bit of the milk. You don't have to pour it in all at one time, because you want to see exactly how easily they will mash. Now, when it comes to this, if you don't like the skins of potatoes, personally, I love the skins of potatoes in mashed potatoes. But if you don't like them, then of course you can always peel your potatoes. If you only have a little bit of time to make your mashed potatoes, then what you can do is peel them and then cut them up, so that that'll be, they'll cook a lot easier and they'll boil faster. So what I'm doing right now is really just trying to break them apart. Oh, thank you. You know, you can say words, Mom. My mom is helping me record this, so she can say things. She was trying to let me know that I did not turn off my oil, so she would rather burn my house down than say anything to make this video any less weird, because her daughter's already weird enough. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a rubber spatula, because if you use a whisk, to do this, then what's going to happen is it's kind of going to get stuck in there, but all you have to do is kind of push it through. Just like that. So I like using the whisk because it helps to make the mashed potatoes not as lumpy. Now if you like them country style, which is when they have a whole bunch of lumps in it, then you can use a fork just to make it easier. But I like to use the whisk for most of it. And so now, once you have them mashed to your liking, which I do, all I'm going to do now is add my seasonings to it, whatever seasonings I decide I would like to add, which I would like to add a little bit of pepper. It'll end up being about like a half a teaspoon or so. And then with my salt, I have this, which it automatically grinds it, but it ends up being about the same, about a half a teaspoon or so. If you would like to, excuse me one second.
Bless you. Bless you.
Thank you.
Pepper.
It is. The pepper went straight up my nose. If you would like to kind of make them a little bit more fancy, like let's say that you love garlic, you can roast some garlic or take a little bit of garlic and put them in here. You can use the garlic seasoning as well. You can add cheese, any kind of cheese you want, from goat cheese, feta cheese, cheddar cheese, mozzarella, any cheese that you would like to add. If you like caramelized onions in your mashed potatoes, you can add a little bit of those to them as well. I like mashed potatoes because they kind of create this blank canvas to where you can add whatever flavor you would like to enhance it. So, sorry, I had found a couple of extra lumps. And for all of you that are wondering, it's my allergies mixed with pepper. You'll know that I have my dog Groot. I took him out this morning and unfortunately my allergies never recovered. So now all I'm gonna do is just finish stirring them up. Beautiful. And these are my wonderful mashed potatoes. Of course, taste testing for your salt and pepper before you serve them. Always the best idea. I have a spoon. Those are really good. I'm very happy. Potatoes make my life, so. The last piece that I'm going to show you guys is how to cook zucchini. Well, squash, zucchini, in that family. You can, if you don't like squash, or if you're not a fan of zucchini, you can use eggplant. Or honestly, you can use carrots if you would like to. Any vegetable that you would like to cook. With the carrots or any harder vegetable though, you're going to want to give them more time on the heat. So in my pan that is now heating on the stove, I have a little bit of oil. And I'm sure on the floor next to me is my dog, because if anything hits the ground, he always claims it as his own. I like to add your basic aromatics to it. So I have about a half of an onion, a clove of garlic, and chopped pepper in here that I'm going to saute first. And then I'm going to add, this is about one squash. Now they come in different sizes, so if it's just for you, then maybe you do one. If you're trying to cook for your family, then you can use 2 or 3. It's just depending. And again, like I told you guys when I was doing the smothered pork chops, if you don't like onions and garlic, you don't have to use them. I love the flavor that they give. My family loves the flavor that they give, so therefore, of course, I'm going to add them. So my pan is hot. as you can hear from that little sizzle. So I'm adding those in. Trying to figure out what my dog was doing. And so at first I'm just going to kind of let them hang out. Because all you want these to do is sweat. You don't really need them to brown or to get to a caramelized place. If you would like for them to, you can. But you have to remember too that you're still going to be adding your zucchini or your squash to it as well. When it comes to seasonings for this recipe, again, this is one of those free-flowing ones. Again, I like to keep it simple. You guys know my main four: onion powder, garlic powder, salt, and pepper. However, what you can do is really create this dish to be your own. When it comes to seasoning, creativity always wins. And again, with the salt in this recipe, you always add a little bit first because you can always add more salt, but you can never take it away. So, now that my veggies have sweat a little bit, some of them have a little color on them. Flip that off. Let's not set anything on fire right now. I'm going to go ahead and add in my squash. And they don't take very long to cook at all. Now, I'm showing you guys the healthier version of this dish. However, if you guys would like to make it a little bit more flavorful and fatty, you can always add about a tablespoon of butter to this, which will add great flavor. I am cheating. I have a mix of my onion powder, garlic powder, salt and pepper already put together, so I'm just going to go ahead and add that in. I know you're like, Ms. Gordon, how will I know when it's done? When there is a little bit of brown, so maybe it takes about 2 minutes on the stove as a whole. You don't want it to be completely mushy, because then that's when it is overcooked. Now, I say it's overcooked, but there are some people who do like it that soft. But that's not necessarily one of, or the main way that I eat this dish. So now, I'm going to go ahead and take this off the heat. I'm going to bring this over here because I'm going to show you guys how to plate. So, if my camera person will just give me 1 second. Or should I say my camera mama.
Yay!
Yeah.
Looks amazing, Rihanna. Looks amazing. It smells good too.
Awesome. And don't worry, I didn't pay her to say that. She would definitely tell me if it didn't look good.
Yeah, I would be the one.
And you guys would know because she just wouldn't say anything and be like, oh, you're doing nice. So I'm going to go ahead and take our chicken out of the oven. Yum. So I'm going to go ahead and plate this because you got to feed your camera woman. Always got to feed your camera woman. So this one isn't going to be super fancy plating at all.
Oops.
You okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because how else am I going to brown the chicken? All I'm going to do is take my potatoes, which, again, who doesn't love mashed potatoes? Now for this plating, I'm not going to put a lot of food on the plate because you don't want to, when you're actually designing plating, you don't want to overcrowd your plate with too many items. And so now some of these yummy vegetables. Just like that. And finally, my mom is a white meat lady, so we're gonna put that piece of chicken right there. Of course, I can slice it, I can make it look different, but again, this is just something home style and quick.
And beautiful.
Thank you guys so much for watching the video. This will probably be my last demo for the year for my seniors especially. So to them I want to say you guys are so amazing and thank you so much for 4 years of wonderful adventures, and know that even through this, it's a great way, even though it's a scary way, it's a great way to be welcomed into the real world and into what happens. You know, they always say when life hands you lemons, you're supposed to make lemonade, and this is one of those situations. We could not have predicted that this would have happened for your graduation. However, all we can do now is show you that as the world continues, we just have to be strong and we have to keep going. So to all of my students, as we all deal with this together, all I want to tell you guys is that I care about you tremendously. I can't wait to see you guys back in person, in school, and just continue to stay positive, and you know that I'm always here for you guys. Enjoy.